Hello, I'm Rabbi Elton from the Great Synagogue in Sydney, and welcome to From the Rabbi's Bookshelves. The title Gadol Hador, the Great One of the Generation, is applied to the leading Torah scholar of any particular period in Jewish history. And for much of the second half of the 20th century, that was applied to Rav Moshe Feinstein. He was born in Russia in 1895. He was educated by his own family and also in yeshivot, in Talmudical academies. He became a rabbi in the Soviet Union, but then under pressure of Soviet persecution, he left Russia and came to New York City in 1936. He settled on the Lower East Side of New York, and then he became the Rosh Yeshiva, the head of the Academy of Masifta Tiferet Yerushalayim, which was not then and never really became a leading yeshiva, but it was his base for many decades after that. Now, many of the leading rabbis of any generation are famous for their Talmudical discourses, their shiurim, and for building great yeshivot, great Talmudical academies. This was not true of Rav Moshe Feinstein. He became famous as a posek, as a decider of Jewish law. People would ask him their halachic questions, their questions in Jewish religious law, and he would answer. And these became very famous and very widely accepted. They were published over many years, beginning in 1959, in volumes called Igros Moshe, the Letters of Moses. Now, it's true that he had a yeshiva, it's true that he published his discourses in a volume called Igros Moshe, the Words of Moses, and also his words on the parasha, the Torah reading of the week, in Darash Moshe. But always the Igros Moshe, his halachic decisions were the most famous and the most widely accepted. He became acknowledged as the leading rabbi in America, certainly maybe even the whole world, until his death in 1986. Now, although several volumes of Igros Moshe were published during his lifetime, and also two after he died by his family, there continued to be published his views on different issues. Because he didn't write a comprehensive code of Jewish law, but merely answered the questions people sent to him, there are areas which are not covered in the Igros Moshe, and some of these have been covered by later publications. For example, this publication here, which I was given, in fact, before my wedding by Rabbi Yaakov Love, who was my leading teacher of Halacha when I was in yeshiva and also before my marriage. The Halachos and Minhagim of Maran HaGaon, Rav Moshe Feinstein. The halachic positions, the legal positions, and the customs of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein regarding chasanas, regarding weddings, and other topics. What singled out Rav Moshe Feinstein amongst other aspects, aside from his brilliance and comprehensive knowledge of all the material, was his pragmatism and his common sense and his desire to make life workable for the Jews in the Lower East Side and also around the rest of the world. Here are some examples from his laws of weddings which show this common sense and pragmatic approach to Jewish legal questions. We all know that weddings can be a time of dispute between the two families involved, and so the first of the laws or customs which he sets out in this little booklet are the Minhagim. The customs of the chasana, of the wedding, are determined by both the chosens and kala's families. Both the bride and groom have a say in how the wedding goes, says Rav Moshe. It is highly recommended that the mechutanim, the two sides of the wedding, avoid machlokas, avoid dispute, and compromise even on cherished family minhagim, even on issues they care very much about. So cautioning, don't stand on ceremony and don't insist on your own family customs. What's more important is you have a peaceful and a happy wedding. Here's another example of a great humanity in Rav Moshe's approach to Jewish questions. He writes, it is inappropriate for the chosen, for the groom, to dance away from the chuppah, from the bridal canopy, with his friends, leaving the kala, leaving the bride, to walk on her own. Instead, the chosen should be walking next to the kala. Don't get married and then dance off with all your friends from the yeshiva, or your friends from work or from school. Stay with your bride. That's the most important thing at that particular time. And a final halacha, a final legal position which I myself implement when I perform weddings, the time of yichud, which is the time which the groom and the bride spend alone in a room together after the chuppah, is 7 minutes. And at the conclusion of the 7 minutes, the eidim, the witnesses outside, should simply leave after giving a pre-agreed gentle knock to signal that the chosen and kala that they are leaving. A very sweet and beautiful and gentle way, which was always Rav Moshe's manner. He was a Gadol Hador, he was the greatest rabbi of his generation, but also very kind, very gentle, very sweet. Thanks for joining.